Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast with me, the Mad Chatter Ryan MK, and by my side, as always, the man, the March Heron, Aaron Stewart. What is up, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. You know me. Mondays, our recording night. This is
That's
what I
right.
look forward to. People dread Mondays. For me, I'm pumped. Gonna get in front of the mic, get to talk some fantasy football, get to do it
Right?
each week. I love it.
Indeed, I'm with you. You've been good. Everything's been good with you. I haven't talked a lot this week. You've been busy.
I know. I think we've both been busy here, but
Fuck yeah.
yeah. I got to see all four of my nieces in one day in one spot yesterday. I'm thrilled. I love those girls. I tell you, just
Sounds
melts my
fun.
heart. I had one that attacked me with a cookie, but I probably deserved it.
Yeah. It happens. My 4-year-old in particular gets a little crazy. It's like, dude, you just gotta chill sometimes, man.
Switch to decaf. Switch to decaf.
Right. It's crazy. Yeah, speaking of kids, well, I've got the 4-year-old, just had his birthday not too long ago. Now this week on Thursday, leaving work a little bit early because we're gonna be celebrating the other one's birthday. He's turning 7. We got a Nerf themed party. He's got some Nerf blasters coming to him. He's got some Minecraft Legos because that's their other shit, and so he's got a few cool things coming to him, and we're very excited. I always dig the kids' birthdays. I can't stand my birthday. I give two shits about my birthday. But enjoy the kids' birthdays. So got that coming up this week. So yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. But other than that, man, yeah, I've been busy as well. The new job, I've been busting ass working on my new stand-up material because I'm gonna get out, hit the open mic scene. I might even do it by the end of the month. We'll see. But I'm gonna try and find out if I can get it recorded so I can get it up on the social medias. We'll see what happens. Not sure how all of that works, but yeah. So busy, both of us busy, but here we are, as you said, Monday night to talk a little football. But before we do, have you caught any more of the playoffs? Because man, the Suns are looking.
The Suns. I think the one thing I did actually catch, that I don't know if it's gone viral yet, but the Suns fan that beat up the Nuggets fan. Nuggets fan.
I did see that.
And the Nuggets fan tried to do the cheap shot.
Tried to sucker punch him. Yeah.
And then of course he's got the Suns in 4, and man, like that prophecy came true. And I mean, we've talked about it before. In my opinion, the Suns are the champions from last year. They were undefeated during that bubble,
right.
And so I know it won't be an official title, but it's nice that like a year later, sometimes teams, they get hot, they're great, and then the next year it was just like, oh, the Cinderella story's over. But the Suns team, after over a decade of suffering, man, they seem legit.
They really do, and I think Chris Paul is a big part of it. And see,
yeah,
of course, I'm rooting for the Nuggets there, right? But I also knew without Jamal Murray, they weren't going to win anything this year. So I knew their demise was going to come at some. I didn't see them getting swept, but the Suns are just playing out their mind. They took out the Lakers, swept the Nuggets, and I mean, so that's going to be the team to reckon with, I believe. You got a good series in the East with the Nets and the Bucks, and well, hell, even the Hawks tied it up tonight. So I mean, it's the playoffs is pretty fun this year. I actually enjoy it. And it's kind of nice not knowing like there's no Warriors or Lakers team where you're like, even the Nets, as star-studded as they are, you're like, there's no guarantee they're doing it. You know what I mean? It
right.
Feels kind of wide open.
Right. You get a team playing the best basketball of their life. And I've talked about it before. My favorite team's the Spurs and their championship team in 2014. That's, my goodness. They just played so well as a team. They were a well-oiled machine. I know that's cliche, but it's true. And so seeing what the Suns are doing, my goodness, if you've been watching the NBA for a while, you knew Devin Booker is going to be special. It's just he
Right.
was always on bad teams, and to finally see him kind of get some help there, it's like, wow, that you're right. That team is going to be dangerous. It'll be fun to see. I don't want to look too far in the future, but you have to wonder what, like, LeBron is always, he's always tried to have counter moves for things that happen in the NBA. Oh, the Golden State Warriors form this big 4-man team with Curry and Thompson, Draymond Green, and then when they brought in Kevin Durant, it's like, well, what is LeBron James going to do? And now as we see him getting older, and inevitably he's getting towards the end of his career, I don't think it's going to be like too soon, but he's still he's 35, 36?
Something like
36,
that.
yeah.
I know he's younger than me.
Yeah, and those injuries, I know he dealt with like his first major injury. It doesn't get any easier. We know that as we analyze fantasy football. We know that those older players, when they get injured, it's what used to keep them out for maybe 2 games, keeps them out 4, 5, 6 games. What you got to be careful with.
I agree, man. And but it does feel like as LeBron kind of winds down, as some of these superstars wind down, it does kind of seem like, hey, we're going to get back to a little bit of normalcy where it's more wide open every year, because it does seem like the younger generations are a little, I don't know, like they're cool. Like you look at Damian Lillard. I mean, he seemed a little pissed off this offseason, but for the most part, he's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just running Portland and like, hey, bring me some help here. Let's get some help here. And, that's a tough sell trying to get people in the small market teams, but you get a good enough team like Phoenix ain't shit. Like as far, the Spurs were never a huge mark. So like it can be done. So I just think there's a lot more teams. I'm hoping that's the way it goes as opposed to these, superstars all. And because while I understand it to an extent, it's also kind of lame as a fan. Like, yep, I guess it's probably going to be the Warriors this year. I mean, maybe they'll be a surprise, but it is probably or the Lakers or whatever.
Well, and I'll say too, the Warriors team, honestly, I give them a pass because their super team was really, they drafted extremely well. They found all those guys and they would do those small moves, to get an Andrew Bogut. He was helpful at the start of that. And then, hey, with Kevin Durant, I mean, shoot, if at that time, arguably the number 2 player, and some people would be like, yeah, he's younger. He might be a little bit better than LeBron. Some people, not all people. I mean, if Kevin Durant wants to go to your team, you move mountains to make it happen. But it really seems that, you kind of read a little bit more things. And I found this nice YouTube series that goes like, they'll rewind things in history. And of course, hindsight's 2020, they go through all these things that happened to pivotal moments, right? They recently did a video on, they had Russell Westbrook and his backup point guard at the time was Reggie Jackson, and Jackson was very talented. Point guard, still a talented guard in the league. I mean, if you're playing in the NBA, you're talented. Right. And just seeing like the backup Reggie Jackson wants to be a starter, and Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant were kind of pushing him down, and you saw a division in the Thunder. Because I always wonder, I was like, how did this Thunder team not win a championship?
Right.
And
it's crazy.
Turns out there was a lot of egos. Like growing up, I always thought it was the front office. I thought it was the front office doing dumb things like trading James Harden and getting Kevin Martin and nothing back. But some of that was probably on the front office. But man, I'm spoiled as a Spurs fan. Like during that Big 3 era, it started with Duncan. Duncan didn't care if he was the main guy or if it was Parker's turn to be the main focus of the offense, or Ginobili. Just didn't care. When you have stars that are all right with taking a step back, it's how you can have these teams play a long time and have a lot of success, and everyone ultimately is happy. But egos always get in the way, right?
Yeah, that's usually how it works. The playoffs have been fun though. But Timmy Duncan, man, I love hated him. Like, it's just you got frustrated because man, them Spurs would just take down the teams you were rooting for. But on the other hand, it was just like you got to appreciate greatness that isn't prickish. You gotta appreciate that.
He's a good fundamental. Nothing flashy about him. He wasn't going to talk crap. He was just going to go out and be a dominant big man, consistently give you, like 22, 24 points per game. Back it up with 10 rebounds and solid defense on the interior. And he had that bank shot that you really couldn't do anything against. It was beautiful in its own way.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and finally move on to football. It wasn't too bad. We didn't spend too much time, but I'm glad we got a little ball in there. And as we move on to the football, we'll get into the meat of the show in a second. And what we got planned, we're going to do a little 12-team Superflex mock draft, just kind of get, going with that and do a little strategy and live discussion, live analysis as we're going along throughout the pod. Then we'll take a little break and we'll come back. And I got a little bit of a surprise to help get us through our topics today. I'm very excited about that. So before we get into all that, I have to say there's some huge, just absolute huge news in the NFL. Gardner Minshew cut his fucking mullet. He's got regular hair again. Aaron. It's so sad. It's so sad.
That's all he had left. He couldn't be the starting quarterback anymore. But yeah.
You never know. If he goes somewhere and something happens, you never know. But now he's sans mullet. I don't like it. I don't even like mullets. But it looked cool.
No, but he was able to just he made it work,
Yeah, he totally did. It's a shame.
Sad day.
Yes. All right, let's get into this. Are you ready for the draft, Aaron?
I am ready. I've got my phone here, so for people watching the video, if I'm looking down, normally I like to make good eye contact there.
Yes, as do I.
It's a lot easier to draft on my phone.
Oh, they're plowing through.
Oh my goodness!
Here we go.
Holy moly! So
sorry, I started the draft, Aaron. Sorry.
I have rankings there, but you know what? We're gonna wing it a little bit. I should be able to play this pretty smart with ADPs. So I'm picking at the 107 spot.
Yes.
And one of the players
I've got the 111.
One of the players that I like. So I believe in the offense line. Of course, I'm going to go running back. I'm going to go Mr. Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, that's a hell of a pick.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say? The Colts still have that same offensive line there. Carson Wentz, last year was really bad. He can't be any worse. And I don't want to overrate offensive coaching, but he played well for Nick Sirianni, right? I think that's how you pronounce his name. And no. Sorry. I'll get my Colts and Eagles mixed up there. He played well for Frank Reich. Sirianni was the Colts guy that went to Philadelphia. Man, but I think that Wentz can keep the ball rolling there and keep the offense open enough to where Taylor can be beneficial. Sorry, I'm talking too much. What about your pick here?
No, you're good. I went ahead and went Patrick Mahomes. See, here's the thing is nobody went. I even switched it to Superflex, and
I know
we're going against bots. And so I was the only one that took a quarterback. So it's going to be weird, but I'm going to kind of play it in part. This will still be useful because we can still kind of talk about how we want to attack this thing. Like for me, I want to get one of the top quarterbacks, at least one of them, because of the mobility factor. I also want to get young running backs. That's my biggest things. Receivers, I would get running backs in a startup draft. I want to go young, and I want to make sure in this super flex league, I'm getting a few good quarterbacks. So you got to get one of those top guys. I went Patrick Mahomes. I should have never had Patrick Mahomes. I should have had somebody else, but still would have been able to get a quarterback. So
But weird things happen in drafts.
that is
So
true.
that's
But I'll act like, okay, there's less quarterbacks than is actually there. And I'm going to look at running back and I'm going to go, I'm going to take me some Cam Akers. I'm going to do it. I did it.
I
Now,
love it.
there was Aaron Jones and there was Austin Eckler and there was Joe Mixon. Aaron Jones, I'm really a fan of. He's nearing that age. So he could certainly help me win this year. But, I'm going to go ahead and pass. Did you pick again?
I haven't yet. I was letting you kind of talk about Cam Akers pickup. I got my eye on the clock there.
Okay. And then Austin Eckler, I'm just not as big on him as other people. And same thing with Joe Mixon. So for me, it was clear. The only tough thing was you got Akers, Dobbins, Swift, Gibson all right there. It was tough, but I decided Akers. I went with Akers. And of course, it's a mock draft. But yes, Aaron is on the clock.
So for me, as you talked about with Patrick Mahomes, this guy would not be on the board. I'm going to draft Josh Allen. But what I'll say is, picking at 107, I'm probably running back would be something that I would consider there, because quarterbacks are valuable, but being able to secure a top tier running back as well, because you can double down on quarterbacks. I could go QB in round 2 and round 3. Mm-hmm. Just to be fun here, I could even wait to round 4. Usually I think it's super flex. You want to get a top quarterback. You want to go quarterback at least the first, second round. At least one of those. If you want to draft 2 QBs right off the bat, super flex, sure. Awesome. Mm-hmm. I feel like you might be able to maximize your roster a little bit if you wait a little bit on the second quarterback. Just because there's so many starting quarterbacks. You get to the 4th round, I don't know what running backs would typically be there, but I'm not going to be as thrilled. I'm going to make a pick, so I'm actually going to go back to running back. I'm going to take a guy that I'm going to talk about more later in the show here. It's a guy I really, really, really believe in, and I'm selecting him so I could talk about him a little bit later. But Miles Sanders, he had a very weird season last year. It was disappointing, but it wasn't bad. It was just disappointing because I know that I drafted him at the tail end of the first round of my redraft leagues last year. So yes, I was not thrilled with what Sanders gave me, but I see Clyde Edwards-Helaire in his ADP being roughly a back end of the second round ADP. Whereas with Miles Sanders, he's fallen almost to the end, almost out of the 3rd round completely. And I don't get it. So I'm telling you, in redrafts, if I'm picking there at the end of the 3rd round and Sanders falls to me, I'm grabbing him. Absolutely. But I'll talk more about him a little later in the show.
Okay. I think I'm going to grab Travis Etienne. And then I'm actually going to come over here and grab Kyle Pitts. Now, my thought process on that is, again, when it comes to Dynasty leagues, period, my startup draft, I want to go young-ish. The only position I'm really looking to go super young at is running back, but I'm going to try and go young-ish. And I also believe in, don't be afraid to take a tight end high. And so I was looking at this situation and I considered going 2 running backs. But I figure, because I really like what you said about quarterbacks. See, for me, I really want one of those top guys, just the edge with the mobility. And then somewhere along the way, maybe 5th or 6th, you try and grab one of those rookies, those, rookies, second-year players, someone like that. And then later on in the draft, you can grab a Matthew Stafford, a Baker Mayfield to give you that 3rd guy. That way you got you got a stud starter, a solid starter, and then an up-and-comer with potential, so that's kind of like how I would like to attack it. But I decided I was going to go Darren Waller, but I'm like, Dynasty, I'm going to go ahead and go with Kyle Pitts, because I decided No receivers there. I'm really big on. You can go ahead and pick if you want,
I'm
and then
gonna
I'll
pick
let you
my
talk about
guy.
it.
Let you, yeah.
And so it's just like, okay, grab another running back. I could either go another running back here or make a move for one of the top tight ends. And again, tight end, a position where, hey, if you have one of the top guys, you're going to have an edge over, especially a tight end, because there's
Yeah.
fewer top guys. You're going to have an edge at that position. So that's why I went the way I did with mine. Now, what about your picks here,
So
Mr. Aaron?
I there were better quarterbacks on board because the sleeper super flex mock draft has been weird. They've been avoiding quarterbacks up
Yeah, it's
until
way
like the
fucking
back
weird.
end of the third round. So I took, or sorry, fourth round. So I took a guy that I felt would be there that also fit the team. I took Sanders in the third round. So in the fourth round, I went Jalen Hurts. I'm big on both these guys. I feel like they both help each other out. Jalen Hurts, people that follow me, I have planted my flag. I have said that Jalen Hurts will be the QB1. I know it's absurd, but like there is a definite path. I'm having
Mm-hmm.
to make a pick real quick here. There are not many good running backs, and I think that's why I'm going to have to go running back again. I'm going to go with an underrated guy, our boy Miles Gaskin. Gaskin.
Mm-hmm.
Gaskin was top 10 in fantasy points per game. It's he so quiet about it, but I'm researching. I'm doing an article for Breakout Finder about identifying who the 2021 breakout running back is. And you look back, there's like three like breakout running backs last year. And usually when I think of breakout is like it's sure, Jonathan Taylor, technically a breakout. I try to avoid
Mm-hmm.
rookies because those aren't always there. But you had James Robinson, Miles Gaskin, which were literally on no one's radar until late in the draft process, and even then, Gaskin slipped through the cracks there. And then the other one, of course, David Montgomery, with a huge like final 6 game stretch there. But Miles Gaskin, it comes down to you want guys involved in the pass game. Obviously, you want guys on the field as well. Snap share, that a very underrated. Oh, okay, you got your 2 picks. I'll wrap it.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it up here.
No,
But
go ahead.
Gaskin in the fifth round there is my third run back. We've got some extra flex spots. I like it.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I guess I could have just let the time wind down before picking. I will do that next time so you don't feel rushed to talk,
That
Aaron.
that's all good. I try to talk fast, so I'm watching my timer here. I'm going to let you talk about your picks.
Okay, I'll make this quick. Basically, with mine, like you said, not a lot left at running back. I still have to attack receiver. I still need to think about a second quarterback. But I see my boy CeeDee Lamb sitting there. I have zero receivers, and I cannot pass him up because I'm a believer. I love CeeDee Lamb, and I'm a believer that this motherfucker is going to start taking that number one spot this year. A lot of
Yep.
people I've seen talk about Mari Cooper. He's still the guy, this and that. Okay, maybe for a minute. That's my belief. I think this year is the ascension of CeeDee Lamb, and I can't fucking wait. I've got him rostered all over the place. So I had to take him. And then again, like I mentioned, we had the running backs. We're getting pretty low there. I'm going Javonte Williams again, getting a young guy, a guy I really believe in that I also think will make his impact this year at some point. So there you go with mine. Go ahead with your picks and discuss what you got going on.
Gotcha. So I made a pick while you were talking, and in the sixth round, at this point, I've gone all running backs and quarterbacks. It was time to get a receiver, and the one that really stood out to me was Cortland Sutton. I know
Mm-hmm.
he tore his
Mm-hmm.
ACL, but it was still early in the year to where I'm not worried about his availability for Week 1. Cortland Sutton was he was starting off the season so well, and yes, I know that QB situation is yuck, but hey, it may be a long shot, but imagine if Aaron Rodgers does go there and he's the QB throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton, like me getting Sutton in the sixth round. That should never happen. So I'll
Right.
gladly take that. And for the seventh round, we're going to double up at receiver here. We're going to diversify a little bit. So I'm going to go Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, just always, always, always underrated. Like we sleep on this guy, and all he does is produce. It doesn't matter which quarterback. It can be Jared Goff, it can be Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Like he always gets, he stays on a team for like a year or two, goes to a new team, and he still produces. Yes, the Houston situation is disgusting, but Brandon Cooks is the only like safe bet to be fantasy relevant. Like we hope that Nico Collins as a rookie can show some things at tight end. Tight end, it's a mess. I still like Jordan Akins, but he just can't seem to
Go
put it
away.
all together. And then when he does get it together, he gets hurt. So yeah, Brandon Cooks is safe bet for high volume. And you
I
know
like
what?
it.
I'll take high volume.
I like both those picks, man. I really do. I really do. Okay, for me, I am on the clock. So another receiver I like this year and going forward is Jerry Jeudy. He's still available, so I'm going to grab him. Now I'm hoping, yep. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got a few running backs now. I've got a couple of wide receivers. I looked at the quarterbacks, okay, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I still need a second quarterback. And there's still quite a few. There's still quite a few I like. There's still some rookies. So, and in a regular super flex draft, this wouldn't be the case. I probably would have done this much earlier, but that just would mean that running backs and receivers and whatnot would be available later, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and wait on quarterback. I went ahead and grabbed Jerry Jeudy. So now I think I'm going to go ahead because there's one more guy on the tight end list that I feel like could be a top guy, and he's just sitting right there.
Yep.
And in a dynasty league, I'm somewhat of a collector of tight ends. I like to get a couple of good ones, and then I collect the shit out of rookies because I like to have good tight ends. So I'm going to grab me some Mr. Dallas Goedert, and we're going to go ahead and we're set at tight end. We're set at tight end now. And then I'm going to go ahead and next, I'm going to concentrate on grabbing that second fucking quarterback so we can be better there. And hey, we're looking okay so far. I think I like both teams so far. Aaron, we're doing well.
Well, the Goddard pick, man, I was definitely considering him. And then I saw the team that picked right before me, the stupid computer there, took an excellent pick in Will Fuller. I still like Will Fuller.
Yeah.
I know he's suspended a couple of games. I'm not worried about that. Like,
nope.
I got him late not late, but in Dynasty League, he fell more rounds than I think he should have. So still love Will Fuller. I came around. I used to hate him. I used to be like everyone else. He always gets injured, but came around at the last moment there.
Me too.
I am going to go. Ooh, there's a receiver that's been getting a lot of hype and a lot of things I like. And you know what? Just going to press the button and get him. It's Mr. Laviska Shenault. Because Shenault, and
I thought about
same as Sanders here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Shenault, but we like guys that look like alpha receivers, and a lot to like about him there. So now, I gambled a little bit. I was hoping Logan Thomas would come back to me, and lo and behold, he went the pick right before me. I still don't have a tight end. Honestly, I don't really even like the tight ends. And part of my strategy too with tight ends is if there's not a tight end that I'm absolutely in love with, I'm going to pass on them. There really isn't much at running back, and there's one screaming value at quarterback, and I got to get him just because the best player there. I'm going to go Mr. Ryan Tannehill.
All right.
It's the Tannehill experience. So yes, going for my third QB instead of a starting tight end. Is it the best strategy that has more of a value thing? And I saw that 2 QBs went off the board right after I took the Tannehill experience.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to have to go. Let's see. You're right. Not much there. I still need receiver. Man, this is tough. This is tough. I got to admit. Because quarterbacks are starting to get down there. So I got to grab somebody, at least some guy. Let's see who's down the list. But also, I would really like to get Rashad Bateman.
I know you've been super high on him. I've been paying attention.
Oh, I know. I I'm just telling you, man, I feel like the Ravens are going to surprise some people this year and throw. I don't think they're going to just start airing it the fuck out, but I do think they're going to step up their receiving. And I think Rashad Bateman could be just what the doctor ordered for Lamar Jackson. And so I'm really digging him. But let me see.
Go ahead, get that pick in. Got 10 seconds. There.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grab Justin Fields. Even though I did Trey Lance, I realized was just sitting there right after Baker Mayfield.
Hey, you can double up.
Well, that's what I was thinking about doing, was doubling up. But Bateman's still there, but let's see. Let's see. This is a tough one.
I'm having to plan my next move too.
Yeah, I know it's getting down there, and it's like I definitely need to work on receiver depth, but the depth at wide receiver, especially at this point, you know, there's only a handful of guys you can really look at and go be like, hey, they can definitely supersede their draft position.
Right.
Whereas I grabbed me some Justin Fields. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab Bateman. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, and I've been looking too while you were making your decision, and there's one pick that makes a lot of sense to me, especially in the second round. I got Josh Allen, and it's run back that long term don't really believe in the talent there, but for this upcoming season, Zach Moss.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick, man.
Hey, you put Josh Allen and Zach Moss if I'm starting both. Those are the two guys that are probably going to be scoring the goal line touchdowns there. More likely Josh Allen, but Zach Moss. There were some things to like about his analytical profile. I was like, oh wow, like to even notice that. You know, I couldn't trade for him, couldn't get him, but you know, I like getting Zach Moss. I noticed a few running backs went off the board after him, along with the run at tight end. So I have got to. I can't wait any longer on tight end. I got to get my guy. You know which guy I'm going to go for. It's the one and only
Jonnu.
And I'm hoping as I draft him here that what's happened is he got hurt today. He hurt his hamstring, and I'm like, no.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I actually have it in the show sheet here. I put it in my notes that we have a 45-minute cry session for Jonnu Smith. I don't know if we'll get to it, but for the audience, I am having a 45-minute cry session for my favorite player of all time, Jonnu Smith. The logic behind it is that Patriots offense, they invested their money on a tight end duo of Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry actually went off the board before Jonnu Smith. So for Josh Larkey, that makes fun of me for loving Jonnu Smith over Hunter Henry. And look, they already took Henry. I got to take Jonnu. And the offense is going to run, the passing offense is going to run through those two guys. That's why they spent so much money on him. Aguilar, he'll probably be more of a decoy than anything. He's a deep threat, but I think Jonnu and Hunter Henry, that's your 1A, 1B, the passing offense. So I'm happy with them.
Hell yeah. I like it. Okay, now I'm getting low. Let's see on time on this pick. It came back around again. This would be so unlikely, but Trey Lance is there, so I'm going to go ahead and draft him too. So now I feel pretty good because I've got Patty Mahomes, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. And now I'm going to go back to receiver. I was kind of looking at running back. I intended on taking Tony Pollard. If he was there, he got snatched up. So now there's a few guys I like later on. I'm going to hold off on running back for now because I've got my top 3 guys. They're all young. So now I can kind of just look for depth. And so, like I said, back to wide receiver because we're set at tight end. We're pretty much set at quarterback. So right now I'm just looking for, I need a couple more really solid receivers, and then I just need depth and upside. So this is actually turning out to be pretty good. And I've got a few guys that I really like. And I'm going to pray one survives till it comes back around. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm sorry, Aaron, because I know you love this dude too, but I'm going to take Mr. Elijah Moore and see what he does because I believe in this dude. You know, he's one of the guys I really like in this receiver class. And I'm with you. Feel like he's underrated. I'm not sure if it's the team or if people just, I mean, like, I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
I feel like, and people are all freaking out because of the Crowder thing. And I'm like, I don't,
Like,
is that a big deal? I mean, the whole Crowder thing.
I'd say it. Crowder actually they managed to lower. They worked a new contract, basically a pay cut for Jameson Crowder. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I get it. It's actually really good on the Jets GM. Like it's smart. Like you keep the player and you get cap space.
Hmm.
Smart. It's win-win because nobody wants to straight up cut a player. So
Right.
I was like, wow, that works. And the timing's perfect because you go to this guy and you go, hey, I want you to go from 10 million to 5 million. And the player like free agency is already done. Like nobody's got
Right.
can spend money. Let me get my pick here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna continue a little stack here because I do need a receiver, and I like to get Mr. Cole Beasley here. Just kind of goes along with the Josh
Oh,
Allen
yeah.
thing.
I got
Um, the thinking on this one is I am more open to stacking in redraft leagues because we talk about this at Roto Underworld Player Profiler. You play for first place. Like, okay, like if this team doesn't win, and like I don't know, something happens to Josh Allen and it ruins like Cole Beasley and Zach Moss. Like, oh well. Like, I mean, I don't. If I'm second place, I'm gonna be just as upset than if I'm last place. Now we do have kickers and defenses. Are we actually drafting kickers and defenses, or we just want to go
Oh shit,
offensive
I didn't
players?
take those out.
That's all right.
Yeah,
We could just draft.
we'll
Well,
skip the we'll don't draft kickers or defense. We'll skip the last two rounds when it
gotcha.
gets to kickers and defense.
So what I'll do is I'll just kind of look at offensive players there,
Oh, we are
and
in the last two rounds.
yeah, which is not a problem. I'll think about doing here.
Oh, we can't even draft anything. We have to draft kickers and defense.
Well, it's not
Oh,
going to
that,
make me draft a kicker and defense. So I'm going to go with
oh,
an upside pick here, and that's
okay.
Mr.
I got
Terrace
you.
Marshall. Terrace Marshall of
I
Panthers.
like that.
It's just Curtis Samuel he vacated almost 100 targets there. So even with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson both having a lot of target volume for them, there's still going to be plenty for Terrace Marshall. All he's got to beat out is David Moore, and there is Marshall is the one rookie wide receiver that's boom or bust. He's either going to be really freaking good or fall flat on your face. Like people that love him, they're drafting him early, and
Mhm.
I'll say I liked him. I'm not sure if I would say I loved him. I'm an Elijah Moore fan. I just besides being small.
Right.
The only thing bad for Moore. But for Marshall in this one, I see like 100 targets is a reasonable thing that could happen. He's got alpha size. Well, things could happen.
I dig it. I dig it. And I think I'm gonna do what you did. Forget kicker and defense. We'll go ahead and keep drafting offensive players. I need another receiver. I am gonna roll one Mr. Jalen Rager. And I'll tell you why. He didn't have a wow rookie season, but people are so quick to give up on guys. Okay. And
Mhm.
and I do think because you saw how he improved at the end of the season once a one Mr. Jalen Hurts came in, Aaron's guy,
Mhm.
Mr. Hurts.
Oh yeah.
And so given a full year with him and you put Devonta Smith on the other side to help take attention away from him, Jalen Rager could have a very good second year and potentially be the number one on the Eagles offense. So
Absolutely.
I'll take a chance on that. And then we come back around to my very last pick. Like I said, wanted to grab that Tony Pollard. I've already got my top three backs. Cam Akers, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams. So I'm looking good on pretty much every position but running back. So here we go. 25 seconds left. I could go Philip Lindsay. I couldn't even say with my face. Okay, let's see. This This is just, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to grab Elijah Mitchell. Why the hell not? Because this would typically be one of the types of guys I would target at the end of a draft with one of my last handful, my last few picks. Because this dude, again, I've talked about it before. He's pretty much got everything that Trey Sermon does, except for he's faster. So I just feel like, I know Trey Sermon has the draft capital, but you get him out on the field. If one can perform better, Shanahan's not going to give a shit about the draft capital. He's going to say, okay, we got to use Elijah. So I don't know, interested to see how things play out in training camp, but I've got my eyes on Elijah Mitchell. Good sir.
Absolutely.
Mr. Aaron.
And this is what we want as I get ready to make my final pick too, is like, you don't want to just go off rankings in the last round. Like the last round or two really should just be, hey, who are the guys that have the most potential? Because how many times do we get done week one and we're ready to already make a roster move? Like, take a guy, and like, I'm going to take my guy here, Russell Gage. The reason why is he's going to show in week one how they're going to utilize him. I mean, he was already heavily involved. And I know some of the talk with the Julio stuff was Julio, some of the reports were Julio wants to go to a quarterback that could throw deeper, because Matt Ryan, like, he kind of viewed his arm was kind of shot a little bit. That works perfect for Russell Gage. that is, Russell Gage is just a slot receiver. Maybe they utilize him outside. I know the Podfather, Matt Kelly, was talking about that on a recent podcast. It's like Olamide Zaccheaus could be in the slot, who is best comparable to James Crowder, and that would then force Gage outside. That would be, I don't know if that would be good for Gage, but this is why I take him in the last round. Like, if that's what his role, we're going to see in week one, and if I hold on to him for week two, if that's what his role is and he struggles, it's like, oh man, like, darn, what? Not even a wasted pick. It's a 14th round. It's the last round of this. I drop him, and I'm like, who is this? Who's the new person I want to add to the team? Maybe I find another Jonnu Smith. Maybe I clone Jonnu and I pick him up. So that's what you want. The rankings are great. The rankings are kind of, they guide you. Sometimes I went off my rankings too, and I liked. Just real quick on here, I like that I was able to, with my quarterbacks, like I got Josh Allen and I was able to pair him with Zach Moss and Cole Beasley. I got Jalen Hurts and I paired him with Miles Sanders. And it's the type of thing of, if I believe that these quarterbacks can be great, it's like the pieces around them should be great to a degree as well. So the stacking, I think, is a great strategy in redraft. I've come around on that. I used to be like, diversify, right? Pieces here. Oh no, bye weeks, I can't do that. But now I'm just like, you know what? Like, if I think these guys are going to be as great as I think they're going to be, and the more time I spend on Player Profiler's data analysis tool and finding all these cool stats, and I'm like, hey, I wrote a freaking article on Jalen Hurts. I'm writing an article on Miles Sanders. I think they're going to be great. So just take them. If they fail, then shame on me. I'll learn how to do better analysis, and my team won't win. Oh no! So.
No, I think you got a lot right there. And when you were talking about, Russell Gage and taking him at the end of the draft, and you're going to know right away what he's going to be doing. Like, that's exactly it. I always say, leave 2 or 3 spots at the end of your bench just for dudes you can rotate in and out, because it's like that, like Elijah Mitchell, very similar to my last pick. Like, we'll know. I mean, he's a rook, so maybe he sticks around, and maybe at some point later in the year, because they do have some depth at that position. But you're going to hear stuff in training camp and whatnot about what these guys are doing, and you're so right. If they don't pan out, you can just switch these guys in and out. That's my biggest thing. Zaccheaus is another great one you throw at the end of your bench, because I'm a fan as well. You could call me a truther. I'm truther to very few players, but my very first article for playerprofiler.com was about that motherfucker, Zaccheaus. So
love it.
I got some love for that dude. So I would love to see him, and he could just, if given opportunity, he's already shown in flashes what he can do. So if he gets some opportunity, he could really be, fantasy relevant this year. So I'm excited for that. But I would say, real quick, run through my team before we hit break time, and then you hit yours. So on my starters, I got Patrick Mahomes. That's right. Justin Fields. Those are my two quarterbacks. And then, of course, I also have Trey Lance. As again, and again, per my strategy, I'm hitting those mobile quarterbacks that have the potential to run. And then running back, per my strategy, I'm going young running backs. So I've got Cam Akers, Travis Etienne, and Javonte Williams. I got two tight ends. I got Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert. And then receiver, we got CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, Jalen Reagor. And then I also got Elijah Mitchell on the bench as well. So I kind of dig what I did there. There was a couple of things, I feel I could have done better, but it was also a weird draft because it didn't feel truly super flex,
Yeah.
even though I fucking changed it to that weird.
I think it's just weird
shit.
sleeper stuff. They
Yeah.
have some weird ADPs. And to recap my team, so my starting lineup, start with two quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Mobility. It was the main thing. If these they're two QBs that apparently can't throw. Josh Allen debunked that last year. But hey, I don't care. In fantasy football, we know that rushing yards for quarterbacks are worth a whole lot more than passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
At running back, I've got a duo, Jonathan Taylor, Miles Sanders. These are workhorse guys. These are guys that dominate the snaps. I keep alluding to Miles Sanders. I am not afraid of any of these stupid things of like a Kerryon Johnson signing, a Jordan Howard signing. No, a Kenneth Gainwell. Sure, he might be something. I'm not worried about Gainwell. At receiver, getting Sutton in the 6th round, I like that. And pairing them with Brandon Cooks, those guys can give me some top production there, strictly because they are the number one guys. Tight end, Jonnu, probably looking back, if I could go back and do something here, I wish I could have gotten a tight end earlier because it does stink that Tannehill's great, but he's a third quarterback, and I got him in the 9th round, Jonnu in the 11th round, so I've got it's like maybe I should have swapped that and grabbed a tight end in the 9th round and maybe my third. Yeah, but the Tannehill thing is too much value. It's hard for me to pass up. I round out with I only got 4 running backs on a 14-man roster, but it's okay. I hit running back early. The 4th running back was Zach Moss, and the rest of the roster is filled with receivers that I'm just hoping that one of these 4 guys here can stand out. With Vishka Chenault, who I hope is the number 1 Jacksonville, Cole Beasley, with Josh Allen, Terrace Marshall. If there's potential for 100 targets, Russell Gage. There's no Julio, and Russell Gage had what was it? I think it was 72 catches last year. So, if it's PPR, he's great because he's not going to get much yards, but a catch and fall down guy. But you know what? Sometimes that's what you got to do to your teams there.
Well, and with Chenault, you said something that sparked something in my brain, because you said he could be the number 1 on the Jags, and those are great players to hit. Like I'm hitting Bateman because he could be the number 1 on the team. Like to hit, because there was a point where I saw a bunch of guys like that, like Devontae Parker. He could be the number 1 on the team. Will Fuller could end up being the number 1 on the Dolphins. Jalen Watt, that's kind of wide open. And there's just, you hit those guys in those later. Jalen Reagor, that's another one. He could end up being the Eagles' number 1. So those are the guys to hit in the later rounds. Is that for sure 2s, potential number 1s, whatever. So great point by you. I love it. That was actually, despite it being a weird one because of the sleeper ADP, that was actually kind of fun, man. That was kind of fun.
Absolutely. We'll have to do some more of those. And
for sure.
The good thing on that sleeper one was, hey, it went fast.
It sure did go fast. That helped a lot. All right. Well, we'll come back. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to get through our topics with the help of our topic wheel. That's right. Ooh. Okay. Yes. So break time, and we'll be right back. We are back. We are back and ready to go with the topic wheel that I'm so excited to. I was going to save it for a guest, for our next guest, but I got too excited and I had to do something with it on this podcast. So what we're going to do, we've got the wheel. We've got some topics. Okay. It's just going to kind of guide us through. And we have favorite value in Superflex drafts, Scott Fish Bowl strategy, Danger Deck. You'll see. Favorite fictional sports characters, underrated QBs in Superflex drafts, Guillotine League talk, and of course, favorite metal bands. Because Aaron and I are both metalheads, and well, the Scott Fish Bowl is all about bands. And yeah. So we're good to go there. All right. So that's what we're going to do. I'll spin the wheel for us. Whatever topic it lands on, we'll do a few minutes apiece. Otherwise, we land on the Danger Deck. The Danger Deck's going to ask one of us to do something. Oh. And once a topic is done, I'll erase it. And it'll be just, well, I forgot to bring up a dry erase marker. I was going to write spin again on there. So it'll be blank, which means spin again. We'll just do it like that. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get the wheel. You bet fucking kidding me right off the bat.
Did it break?
No.
Oh.
Danger Deck. The
Danger Deck.
Right off the damn bat. The thingy's at the top. Okay. Ryan, of course. For the rest of the game, to hit off the pipe / joint every time a workout metric is mentioned. So this Danger Deck's trying to get me high. Okay. So, all right, we go again. There is spin one. Well, now I broke it. Hold on. It's not complete. I'll hold it from down here. That would have been smarter in the first place, Ryan. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Ooh. Favorite metal bands. Would you look at that? All right, Aaron, man. You go ahead and go first, bro.
All right, I got two. One is Killswitch Engage. And in particular, a 3-year period for Killswitch Engage. And it was when they had Howard Jones as their vocalist, because they had Jesse Leach, they went to Howard Jones, and then they actually went back to Jesse Leach. Now, Howard Jones, between the years roughly 2004, 2006, they put out 2 badass albums, End of Heartache and As Daylight Dies. And people that haven't heard of Killswitch Engage, well, first off, those 2 albums, those are still like the albums that fans think of when they think of Killswitch Engage. They still put out music, but I haven't gotten around to really listen to it, but I know like their most popular albums are those 2. And Howard Jones, the reason why I like it is I'm a singer. I like to sing. Howard Jones vocals just fit the punch in your mouth that you got from Killswitch Engage. They have 2 guitarists, they've got bass player, they drums. It's heavy, but they have this nice blend with their music where there's just some really heavy headbanging parts, and then Howard Jones just comes in with wonderful melodic voice that just complements that sound so well. And he could scream a little bit. I'm not so much of a fan of the screaming. It's got to be in doses there, but man, like when Howard Jones left, it just wasn't quite the same. He took that band to a whole new level. I love the song My Curse, along with End of Heartache as well. And it's funny, like the metal bands, and you read the lyrics, and it is kind of like, you know, you wouldn't really think it's a metal band until you hear like the lyrics are like sound more like you would imagine an emo band. But then Howard Jones just makes it work with his powerful vocal cords, and then the rest of the band just they're there to just get the mosh pits going. They also do an excellent cover of Holy Diver, Dio's Holy Diver, which is on As Daylight Dies, and it's a freaking hilarious music video as well. Just a group of guys that have a lot of fun. Second favorite metal band, Avenged Sevenfold, in particular. Before rest in peace, the Rev passed away. Like anything before that, I really dug it. When he passed away, it just didn't. It they went through so many different drummers after the Rev, and you could tell like when a band has chemistry. They were a 5-piece band that had they were teenagers and then got really popular and tied into football. Like the first time I ever heard of their music was City of Evil, Backcountry, which was
I
on
love
one of
that
the
song.
Maddens. Yeah, one of the Maddens from the mid 2000s, like maybe 04, 05. Just I remember playing that and was like, what in the world is this? This is awesome. Just it was almost out of control. And Sinister Gates shredding on lead guitar there. Just I was like, yeah, I was a teenager. I was like, heck yeah, I had a Avenged Sevenfold t-shirt, had a couple of Avenged Sevenfold t-shirts, and I still like some of their more recent stuff. The two albums in particular stood out to me. City of Evil, that was the first one I heard of. Just all those songs. Just I could play that album on repeat all day.
Hmm.
And then they actually had two self-titled albums. There was a white one that came out after City of Evil. I like that. They kind of got into they tried some different things. There were a couple of songs that actually had like a country sound to it. But they made it work. Like it was kind of acoustic and country. And then like about the mid part of the song, you have the classic M Shadows scream, like to those guys, to the singers that could scream, like awesome. I'm not going to do it because I said I'm a singer. I don't want to ruin my vocal cords. And M Shadows had to change the way he sang. He can't
Hmm.
do the screaming as much anymore. So those two bands that got me through high school years, and I could go back and just jam to those albums. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy me some Avenged Sevenfold. They're not one of my tops, but I Backcountry is one of my fucking favorite songs. I love it. Not just this, how awesome the song is, but what it relates to Hunter S. Thompson, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, just that whole shit. I love that stuff. So so that song is great. So I love that. And then with me, it was weird because I put pick two, and I'm like, man, that's tough because for me, I do like a lot of screamy shit. Like, I fucking when I first got into metal, I remember my cousin. I was sitting there listening to like Metallica and Megadeth, and my cousin, so it was like, so you like metal, huh? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you want to hear some real badass metal? And I was like, sure. And he plays me fucking A New Level by Pantera. And I was just like, oh my fucking God, what is this? And then you get into all this other stuff. A buddy of mine showed me Sepultura, and I was like, holy fuck, so I've always been into the heaviest of the heavy. But that being said, when it comes down to my favorite stuff, I really got into new metal when that was a thing, bands like Korn and Slipknot. And one of my favorite bands, they got a little less metal over their last couple of albums, but the music was still phenomenal. And it was something about the way they approach things and the way they do. I just love them to death, but it's System of a Down. They've been my top band for fucking years because their very first album, I remember I used to get Metal Edge magazine, and they would about the bands that were going to be on Ozfest that year. And my brother and I would pool our money together and we'd go get a few albums of the bands that were up and coming that were going to be on the second stage. System of a Down was one of them. We plopped that fucking first CD in, ripped a joint, listened to that the whole way through. We were like, what the fuck did we just listen to? That was amazing because it was heavy, but it was weird. And it was just so different. And Serge, the singer, can just do amazing shit with his voice, as can Darren, the guitar player.
Yeah.
So it just everything about it, there was heaviness, but there was melody, and then there was weirdness, and there was always something to the lyrics that were written. Like there's just so much phenomenal about that band. So that's always been my number one. And a lot of people think, when they hear I came from Iowa, they think I'm a big Slipknot fan, and I do enjoy some Slipknot, but not one of my tops. but there's so many ways to go, and it's like, what all do you consider metal? Because I like bands like Tool, Primus. Oh fuck, I love me some Primus. But there's such a range with it. But I'm going to kind of stick in the vein of metal, and I'm going to go with a band that probably a lot of people haven't heard of, and haven't. It's been a while since they made some music, but it's a band by the name of Poison the Well, and they were really their first album was like insane because you listen to it and it's heavy as fuck and it's got the screaming, but then all of a sudden they bring in the singing and it's amazing. And this was a while back, like their first CD came out like, oh man, I want to say probably around like the new metal scene, but it was the first like real like scream heavy band. Like this was before Kill Switch and everything like that really brought those clear vocals in. And they were just kind of unknown. Not that they were the only band to do it, but they were really one of the first bands that had that kind of mixture, because before that it was a lot of Pantera and Sepultura, where it was pretty much all screaming, or Metallica and Megadeth with the Exilad. So you know what I mean. So it was like one of those first groups. There was a few of them to just say, okay, we're going to take that rah, 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 and add in some, like, and it worked. And
Yeah.
so, and they also got a little less metal over time, but they still put out some badass shit. And it's another dude who just like, I'm with you when it comes to Kill Switch. I was more of a Howard Jones fan. God damn it, I wish I could remember his name, but the singer of Poison the Well, his fucking voice is just incredible. He's got a great scream, but he can also scream in like different ways. And it's just they're a phenomenal band. They got really good stuff. And as a drummer, I've always just loved drummers that can just go ape shit, but do it smoothly and not overdo it. And just the drummer from Poison the Well is just fucking awesome. So like, so I love the drums in their shit. But so look up Poison the Well. Their very first album is called The Opposite of December. And they've got 5 CDs out. I love all of them. And I think the last one was made 2005, something like that. So it's no, it was probably a little later than no, I think it was a little later than that. It was later than that. Actually, I could probably look it up. But yeah, their first album, The Opposite of December, check it out.
And one of the things I want to add real quick to you talked about System Down. I love System of Down. I was mowing the grass this weekend, and I was just System of Down always ends up being a band that I come back to in my cycle. It's they freaking kick ass, and they've made a couple of new songs, not new album, but if you're looking for something kind of scratch the itch with System of a Down, Darren actually has a side project, Scars on Broadway, and it is just as good. They have 2 albums. There was one that came out like 2009, I think, and then there was like a 10-year gap, and then they put out his second band, Scars on Broadway, put out something in 2019, but freaking I haven't heard stuff that too. Yeah, you need to check them out. I heard that. Yeah, Scars on Broadway.
I'll check out the second one.
It is. You can tell. Like, I mean, it's not as good as System of a Down, but in its own way, it still kicks ass.
Yeah, because I enjoyed the first one, but I actually really, really liked Surge's first solo album. I really enjoyed the shit out of that too. So there was some good stuff. Again, same thing with Scars on Broadway. Not the same as System, but it still gives you a little bit of that itch. It takes care of a little bit of that itch. So,
and Darren's unique vocals get to shine on that. But there's a lot of good songs on just 2 albums too. So that's the impressive thing. So just wanted to throw that in there too. With you having System of a Down as one of your top 2 bands, definitely check out Scars on Broadway. You won't be disappointed.
I will for sure, because I love Darren. I tell you real quick that when I lived in Waterloo, Iowa, we used to drive to Des Moines, Iowa, because they had this little club called the Super Toad, and it was really at the explosion of new metal. And bands used to just come there 4 or 5 at a time. So we'd go down there like once or twice a month and see shows. We saw like fucking Fear Factory and Static X and Head PE and just whoever you could think of. And we saw System of a Down there probably 3 or 4 fucking times, and Darren was always so fucking entertaining to watch. And there's this song on the first album called, I think it's Darts is the one I'm thinking of, but there's this part towards the end of the song where there's like a guitar that goes and then it goes back into the din 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 din, arise as did the gods, that song. Anyway, so but I saw this motherfucker live. He didn't do it with the guitar. He did it with his mouth. So it was like it did a dirt, and then instead of the guitar, he went la 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 la, and I was just like, I love this motherfucker. He's so great because Darren is awesome. So yeah.
Okay. Great live performer. Yep.
Yes, that whole band is just, they chilled out a lot as they got older, but earlier in their careers, man, oh, did they put on a live show? Whew.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Okay. All right. We probably spent too much time on that. It's something we haven't talked a lot about. So that was cool.
Hey, the listeners are going to find some bands through us.
That's right. Definitely check out. That reminds me, this right here, anybody can see it. That is The Opposite of December by Poison the Well. Nice. I highly suggest checking it out, and really check out all their albums because it's just, there's such good stuff. Such good stuff. If you're a fan of Kill Switch, I can almost guarantee you will dig you some Poison the Well. All right.
It's a little hypnotic there.
Right.
What do we got?
Ooh, Scott Fish Bowl Draft Strategy. Now, with this one, we did talk, previously about some of this. You brought up some good points on, I believe it was the last podcast. So if you have anything to add to it, or if there's anything you want to go through, I just felt like we should bring it up again because divisions are getting set. We're getting to that point where the draft is coming. So I'm like, all right, let's do a little more discussion on it because I do have a little bit, I think, of an amendment on. I really like what you talked about last week, and I'm in on that, but I have a bit of an amendment to it, I would say, and kind of how I think I might approach it. But let's start you out. You can give us a reminder of what you were talking about last week and then go from there.
Certainly. So for people that are unfamiliar with the Scott Fish Bowl, it is a humongous fantasy football league for charity. That's number one thing. It's a lot of fun. It's my first year doing it, but there are unique scoring rules. It's not your typical format. So for instance, this league, like quarterbacks, you get a half point for completion and you lose a point for an incompletion. If you throw an interception, it's -4 points. If that interception is then returned for a touchdown, a pick six, well, you add a couple more points to that. It costs you it will be -6 points. It will cost you 6 points. So especially for quarterbacks, it's not your typical format. You have to make sure that your QBs are accurate. But at the same time, mobile quarterbacks are key. But with it also being super flex, you don't want to wait on QBs. I know everyone in recent years has gotten into the idea of late round QB. Don't do that, Scott Fish Bowl. You will lose. The other main format here is that for running backs and receivers, it's a half PPR league. This means that running backs that are featured backs, they're going to be more involved and on the field, in my opinion, are more valuable than guys that are strictly pass catchers. So you think of a Nyheim Hines gets hurt in this format. Yes, he catches a lot of passes, but man, if he's not getting much carries, not getting really any red zone work, and why would he? There's Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be hurt in this format. Similar to receivers, we could pick on Julian Edelman. He's retired, great career. He would struggle in a half PPR league, because Edelman was notorious for those 9 catches for 56-yard games. Like that ain't going to cut it much in a half PPR league. Now, tight ends get the full PPR point. So it is a tight end premium league, but also at the same time, all this really does is your elite tight ends are very valuable. You also get points for first downs. Running backs and receivers, you get half a point per first down. Tight ends, you get a full point per first down. Also, since you get half a point for rushing first downs, getting quarterbacks that are going to get those QB sneaks or get a lot of first downs, or their primary rusher of the offense. Think of Josh Allen. Josh Allen can be huge in this format because he gets so many rushing first downs. Like I would bet that he is probably above Patrick Mahomes. If I was to do some projections, I wouldn't be surprised if I had Josh Allen above Patrick Mahomes. Now, some of the things that I've kind of got in terms of early round strategy, because you could really only plan for maybe 4 rounds in this at most. So my bullet points are, if you can get one of the big 3 tight ends, that's Kelsey, that's Waller, that's Kittle, don't be afraid to smash it. Those guys are going to break Scott Fishbowl as long as they stay healthy. That's really more for George Kittle than the other 2. Those tight ends, don't be afraid to grab them. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, but I want to make sure I get 2 QBs and 2 running backs. I get it, but don't pass on the elite talent at a position for, I don't know, a running back that who knows? Like, I don't have a good running back in mind. Like, I will say Myles Gaskin. Don't pass on, like Kittle if he's here in the 4th. I don't believe he will, but don't pass for like 2nd, 3rd tier talent running back for those 3 tight ends. They're going to be huge. Now, first 4 rounds, have to walk out of those first 4 rounds with 2 QBs. You've got to. And ideally, there'll be guys that have some mobility there. And also, though, like QBs that, like Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a perfect quarterback to get in this format because of the completion stuff. We know he's going to be a great offense because you lose points for sacks. So Tom Brady's not going to get sacked much. He's got all these weapons around him. He's going to be fine. Even though he's not going to give you mobility, he's going to be fine in this.
Well, and he does have that sneaky rushing upside as far as for first downs, goal line work. He does those little tiny QB sneaks. So not the mobility, I shouldn't say rushing upside, not a mobility or rushing upside, but just those little QB sneaks for first downs and touchdowns for fucking sure.
It makes the difference there. And I think Brady's going to be freaking great on this one. He's the GOAT. Yeah. What can we say? EDG, the EDG made sure that that I said that, and I have my Twitter post there. Now, one thing that I didn't talk about last time was, and kind of look at this, I'm pretty low on the receiver position in general for a format like this because tight ends get a boost, so tight end premium, or at least like the top tier guys, even guys like Hawkinson, Goddard, that should still be heavily involved, that are potentially the number 1 receiving options in their offenses. Awesome. Receivers, obviously the studs, they're still going to be fine. Like take a Calvin Ridley, still take a Devontae Adams, sure. But so many people want to draft these receivers in bad offenses, like Amon-Ra St. Brown. The reason I'm questionable on receivers on bad offenses or offenses that are kind of unknown right now. So that's Detroit. Houston, you can get away with Brandon Cooks, but Houston, the rest of the Houston receivers, New England, they will be a better team, but this is a team that's built they're going to be built around the run. And as we talked about earlier, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, those are really their receivers. I'm not so interested in the receivers for New England or receivers on teams that they're more run oriented. So you think of the Las Vegas Raiders, they run a lot. None of those receivers were really good in terms of, you weren't starting them with confidence. Yes, Nelson Aguilar was great last year, but he either had a top 10 performance or a performance outside like the top 60 or 70. Best ball, awesome. Scott Fishbowl, not so much. Baltimore, Indianapolis, those teams are more built around the run. So the point I'm getting at is like, don't be afraid to fade those receivers. Yes, they may be the wide receiver one, but like I don't really care. Teams that aren't going to be throwing the ball much, or teams that are going to be really bad. Like Detroit worries me for like receivers, because this is a league that's getting points for first downs. How many times is Detroit's offense going to stall because they've got nothing in the receiving core? So all it takes is they they run the ball on first and second down, and it's, I don't know, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and they're forced to have to pass. They throw to a receiver, he doesn't come up with it. So, like, those first downs mean something. Want to you want to have a pretty good idea of what teams can move the ball this year. Yes, some people go, "Oh, there's value." Oh, I could get Michael Pittman. I don't really care so much for that. Like, give me the offenses that are going to pass a lot, like a Philly. Like, I'm probably going to be waiting on receiver unless something just crazy falls in my lap. I don't expect to have any receivers in the first 4 rounds. I think that really kind of that's kind of all my points there. And major thing, get your 2 QBs at some point in the first 4 rounds.
I actually don't have all that much to add because I'm basically with you in that, like you talked about last time, you got to get one of those tight ends if you can. You really have to try. And if you can somehow, if you're like at the back end of the first round, if you can somehow get 2, you might have to strongly consider it. I mean, because holy shit, it's not only are you giving yourself a second one to potentially put in a flex, but you're also taking another one away from your opponents, and so it'd be a ballsy move, but I could see it potentially working out. Now, the running back was the one thing that I think we talked about last time. It placed such an emphasis on quarterback and tight end, but you kind of brought it up yourself. You also have to be careful in this league with the running backs because, half PPR, those guys that mainly catch passes aren't going to be as valuable. So you got to make sure you get some guys there too. And I kind of went basically first 5 rounds. Like you went 4. In my brain, I went the first 5, and I'm like, okay, you've got to get one of those top tight ends if you can. You've got to get 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs. I think in the first 5 rounds, that's about what you got to do. And if you swap out a running back for another tight end because you can, okay, more power to you. And with receiver, I'm very comfortable fading because there's a lot of guys you can get later on, man. There just is. I mean, like, look at Antonio Brown. He's going super late, and then the guys we talked about that could potentially go, like, be number ones on teams such as a Jalen Rager, guys like that. You can get those guys later on. And so I just am like, yeah, there's plenty of receivers later at the depth, I mean, it's there. You can totally fade them and still get solid guys later. So I definitely think you got to concentrate on getting a really good tight end if you can, and a couple of quarterbacks, and then concentrate on running back. And I really think you're right. That's really the way to approach it, because but just how you break down the scoring, and those tight ends are so valuable. So you really have to make, and it's going to be curious to see once the drafts get going, how many people have caught on to that. You know what I mean? And how many people are going tight end in the first round, because yeah, if I'm sitting there at the back of the draft, I definitely would like to get me one of those tight ends for sure. Oh, I lost you. I can't hear you. Where'd you go?
Testing 1, 2.
Oh, there we go.
All right, am I back?
Yeah, that
That
was
was weird.
crazy. I was like,
so,
what's going on?
um,
Am I
so
high?
so
Like,
one
what
of the
is it?
things that I was talking about, well, whether I was muted or technical difficulties, was I actually know my draft slot, so I've got the ninth pick. And one of the reasons I like that is because I'm also picking early, not just in the second round, but third round. It is a third round reversal. So the way to think about it is it's still a snake draft. It's just it doesn't snake back. Like so goes the first round, it snakes to the second round. It doesn't snake to the third round. So it's the same order in the second, third round. And then it continues to snake back. So I've got early picks in the second and third round. So I am curious to see if Darren Waller like falls. Like Travis Kelce, I think is pretty much a lock to be in the first round. And I'm trying to get an idea of where Darren Waller falls. I would love to get Darren Waller in the second round. I know that that may be a bit gutsy, but I think in particular, I think Darren Waller is the guy that ends up being on a lot of the top teams there. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sold on Darren Waller. Maybe that's because I spent the summer covering the Las Vegas Raiders and that horrible offense, the offense that benefited Darren Waller, and that was it. So that's I'm okay with having to wait. I know at 109 that means that's no that's no Patrick Mahomes, no McCaffrey, no Barkley. Like
Right.
I feel like there may be a chance for QB to fall, and that's
Mhm.
probably going to be the plan. Is probably QB. Second round will be Darren Waller, or if there's a really, really good running back, then absolutely it's got to be the running back than Darren Waller. And shoot, I may be starting off. It's possible I may be starting off my draft going QB, Darren Waller, QB, and I'll be okay with it. So, as long as
Yeah,
I get
that's
the
what
right types. So
I think for sure. QB and tight end are the first two picks I'm making, depending on how that plays out. Come back around, it's going to be QB RB, depending on which order. We'll see. We'll see what's there. It'll all
I
kind
got
of
to find
depend
some
on how it plays
ADPs.
out.
I got to find ADPs. Got to do some more mock drafts. Kind of get a feel for it. I'm really kind of spitballing right now,
Right.
but I at least have an idea of kind of my strategy. And man, I know I'll say it right here that I'm going to avoid receivers, and then knowing my luck, like there would just be too good of a value there. But I'm going to say it for people in Scott Fishbowl. If you're sitting there drafting and one of your league mates takes a receiver in the first round, that's the wrong start. Don't take a
Mhm.
receiver in the first round. You're passing up way too much value. In my opinion, of the four, we didn't even talk about kickers. You can flex kickers. Honestly, I haven't looked at all about their scoring and how it works. In terms of like when would I take a kicker over these other positions? I'm sure I will. I need to dig deeper into the numbers here, but of the four main positions here of QB, run back, wide receiver, tight end, to me, receiver's the least valuable. I'm
Mhm.
just not really feel like tight ends are above it. QB is the most important. I'd probably say QB, the top tier tight ends, the big three, running backs, then the rest of the tight ends. So, yep, there we go. Too much
Yeah,
time
I
on Scott
actually,
Fishbowl, right?
huh?
So too much time on Scott Fishbowl.
We did spend a lot. I was just grabbing,
Oops.
but I was gonna say, I do think you could probably make do with TJ Hawkinson,
Oh yeah.
Dallas Goddard. I do think there's a few guys that could be not far behind the others. But yeah, man, if you can get one of those top three, just do it. Do it. It'll make a difference.
Absolutely.
So I love it. All right. Underrated quarterbacks in superflex drafts. All right, buddy. Do you want to go ahead and start this one up again?
Sure. I'll give you my number one guy that I love when I dig into like the numbers and I assess his situation here. That's a second year quarterback because we know like Justin Herbert broke out. Justin Herbert was a big winner, but
Mm-hmm.
Tua Tagovailoa, don't sleep on this guy. This guy,
Yep.
first off, let's go back to his final season in college. He had a horrific hip injury. It was one that, man, 20, 30 years ago, he wouldn't have ever played in the NFL. Fortunately, the medical science, sports science has helped get him to a point where he could play. And that situation was not ideal. Miami was a competing team the entire season. If they were a team that were out of the playoff hunt, they could have let Tua kind of go through his lumps that most rookies are going to go through and let him kind of play through it. But because they were still like trying to win that season, like anytime he played bad, they'd pull him and put Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's like, what does that even do to a QB? But now it's the Tua show. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's gone to his next team. We know Fitzpatrick every 2 years. He's got to go somewhere else. They brought in a legit backup, Jacoby Brissett. That's what he is. Brissett is a guy that can come in, help you win a game or two if needed, but he's backup. Now, back to Tua. Improved weapons, number one. Like, my goodness, what he had last year was just pitiful. And of course he was going to struggle. He had Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, and Parker wasn't even that good. So what did they do this offseason? They made two huge additions. They went out and they signed Will Fuller. We love Will Fuller. I believe that after the suspension, that will be the number one receiver there. Like, he was number one at Houston when DeAndre Hopkins left. He has the talent. Like, he now has to fight off. People are going to make fun of him for the Peds. Okay, time to show him. Time to show him what he's got. The other thing too is their first round pick. They invested in a receiver, Jalen Waddle. So the thing they didn't have last year, they didn't have speed. And Parker's an athletic guy, but Parker's been in the league for a while, dealt with some injuries, and now you have Parker paired up with these two speedy guys. They can go into three receiver sets, no problem. And I don't know who plays in the slot there, but man, it's gonna be much better than last year because, well, besides Parker, at one point Lynn Bowden, who was acquired from the Raiders and played running back for the Raiders, like Lynn Bowden was playing for him. Needless to say, improved weapons is going to be good for Tua. The other thing too is he actually wasn't. There were some advanced stats that show that he wasn't as bad as we thought. Player Profiler, he had a 7.9 number 2 accuracy rating. He also had an 80.3%. That was number 3 amongst quarterbacks catchable pass rate. So he was delivering a relatively accurate ball there, or a ball that receivers can make a play on. He also had a 43.2% number 10 pressured completion percentage. So when pressure is there, he's able to deliver. And speaking of pressure, they once again invested a pretty high draft pick on an offensive lineman. Was it Lindenberg? It was the Notre Dame guy, I believe, that's going to play guard for him. They drafted in the second round. And that's why I love what Miami's doing. And Miami knows how to build this team. They know to continue to throw draft assets at offensive line. It's so important. That's how they've built up an improving offensive line. It's still young, and I think it keeps getting better each season. So that's good. Like, hey, we like it when you give the quarterback A, weapons, and B, protection. Awesome. Other thing too is he has some. He's not a Konami code quarterback, but he has some sneaky mobility to him. He had a game where he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and his red zone usage, he averaged just under 1 red zone carry a game, which is right smack dab in the middle of the NFL. So, hey, like, he has that potential for getting that Tom Brady special, whether you're 1 yard away from the end zone and just reach over. And it's not like they have, like, we'd like Myles Gaskin, but Gaskin's not this. It's not a 6'2", 230-pound running back that you can always give them the ball at the goal line. Like, hey, they may utilize them, kind of those QB sneaks. He was getting utilized in the red zone. And also, he averaged 7.9, number 17 air yards per attempt. So, right smack dab in the middle there. So improved weapons, which Waddle and Fuller, those are speed guys. Hey, those air yards could be great. I'm excited to see Tua Tagovailoa throw that ball. And he's currently going, like, he's outside the top 15 QBs. Off the top of my head, I don't have ADP information, but he's one of those guys that you end up getting outside the top 15. hey, I think he could put up a top 10 season.
Mhm.
It's definitely within realms of possibilities here. I believe everything that's happened with this offseason, first off, their commitment to him, and not, there was all the trade rumors with Deshaun Watson before, he got a little too handsy there. So with Tua Tagovailoa there, the commitment, they gave him weapons. I'm excited to see what he can do this year with the legit receiving core.
Me too. Me too. Is that who you had? Did you have anybody else?
I do have another one, just real quick. Baker Mayfield is one.
Oh,
Did I take your guy there? a,
go
a
ahead. Go
tale,
ahead.
a tale of two halves here. First half of the season, he threw 7 interceptions in the first 7 games. It was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Now remember, Kevin Stefanski came over. It was a brand new offense, and man, when Baker Mayfield, when he figured it out, it clicked like that. Final 9 games of the season, one interception. Some of the downfalls is late, mid to late season. You play in Cleveland, you're gonna have some bad weather games. That's what Cleveland ran into, and this is a run first team, but that could be beneficial to Baker Mayfield. Now,
Mm-hmm.
he had some games that just weren't fantasy relevant, but like when you were watching the weather, you're like, no, we're not going to throw him into this game where it's snowing and there's 30-mile-per-hour wind. Like, no quarterback is really going to succeed in that. But he did have a 4-week period from weeks 12 to 15 where he finishes a top 12 quarterback each and every week. Like, he's shown he has that upside.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a mobile quarterback. He's going to have to do it the same way that Tua Tagovailoa does. And both quarterbacks actually compared to Drew Brees in their best comparable players. Like if you go and look at their top 5, like Drew Brees is in there. And hey, Drew Brees had some good seasons. Now, like that is definitely the ceiling for these guys. But some of the things I like here. Number one, offensive line, they're all back. Continuity on the offensive line, that's good for a quarterback, especially an offensive line that is pretty strong. Well, yeah, they had all 5 guys come back. So, and good tackles, good interior guys. Like it's going to click because it's not just the second season for Baker Mayfield. It's the second season for that offensive line. I love that. On top of that, Odell Beckham's going to be back from injury. I know they don't quite connect well, but we're going to hold out hope here. Odell Beckham he's still a talented receiver, and that's got to help a quarterback some way. They've just got to figure out how to make Odell Beckham work with Baker Mayfield in this offense. There's a way, and they will figure it out. This is going to be a really good team, and I believe in Kevin Stefanski and his staff to make this work. Also, drafting Anthony Schwartz. For Schwartz, it's better more for like a real NFL thing because they had Jarvis Landry and they had Rashard Higgins. Those are more of your short to intermediate route guys. They're not fast guys. Like they make the plays. But what Cleveland was really missing was a legit vertical threat. And when you have a guy that has 4.32 40-yard dash speed in Anthony Schwartz, that can just you put him out there and you go run straight, take the safety there. That's going to make things better for a quarterback. Now, some of the analytics here. Baker Mayfield, not afraid to throw the deep ball. 58 deep ball attempts, number 14 in the NFL. Also, it wasn't just that he was throwing deep passes like Carson Wentz that nobody could catch. They were accurate passes too. A 46.6% deep ball completion percentage. That was number 6. So hey, he's got an arm. He's got an accurate arm. We've seen it, and it continues. 4,021 air yards, number 12 in the NFL. 8.3 air yards per pass attempt, number 9. 39 money throws, which is number 2. Which money throws, for people unfamiliar, player profilers term here is it's passes that you would consider clutch, the difficult passes where you're like, oh my God, how did that guy get that ball out of there? So Baker Mayfield's got the arm talent. Baker Mayfield, he may struggle in some of those games that are completely out of his control, but really he had a bad first half. and then a really good second half of the season, finishes QB 25 in points per game. And I'm telling you, now that he's comfortable in this system here and what he has showed that shows up in the advanced stats, he was QB 25 last year. He could be at least a mid QB2 in a 12-team league, at least a mid QB2, with that potential to, especially in superflex, like if you're not able to lock down, say, a Josh Allen and a Jalen Hurts, and you're like, oh man, what, like, if Baker Mayfield's ADP, you can get him at a pretty good price, and he could give you a solid superflex option there. I'm on board with Baker Mayfield this season.
Yeah, me too. That was actually one of mine. And I think you hit all the points plus some. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. You mentioned pretty much, yeah. I don't think it's bad that it's run first. He does throw to his running backs. I mean, there's potential there for, easy, passing touchdowns. Like, and it's the second year in the system, and you talk about bad weather games. I mean, I think he can get better in those as well. You got Schwartz now to go along with that. Like, I think there's so much, especially if the defense is a little better, that could help. Like, oh man, I just feel like there's something to this. And EDG gave me a little hell for taking Baker Mayfield the one show, but hey, I'm a believer. That's all I can say. And then the other guy, I'll just make it quick. I know he's a rookie, but Minnesota was looking for a replacement. They were willing to take Justin Fields in the first fucking round had he fell to them. Kirk Cousins, we've talked about contract and stuff like that. There's no real way. They owe him this money, but they're not going to keep him. And I just feel like, depending on how this year goes with Kirk, Kirk Cousins is probably going to come out and play his damned best, since he knows he's got someone breathing down, or he might just crumple like he does in the pocket at times. But I feel like Kellen Mond is a sneaky good player to have. And I don't know if you pay attention to Chris Sims at all and his quarterback evaluation. A lot of people dog on him, but I've also seen him talk some pretty good stuff. He was one of the Lamar Jackson backers and Patrick Mahomes backers when there was a lot of people, throughout the draft process who was like, he was one of the ones saying, hey, Lamar Jackson, he's the guy in this draft. And so, I do think he gets some stuff right. And this dude really likes Kellen Mond. And so I just kind of pay attention to, I'm not going to take everything he said. I don't hardly take anything anybody says for what I take it for what it is. But Chris Sims, I don't think he's nearly as bad as some people believe. And he's hyped some guys that I've really turned out to. Justin Herbert was another one. Even in the analytics community, we were kind of like, I don't know about Herbert. Chris Sims was like, he's going to be good. And he's been good. So, I mean, I think he's done a fairly good job. And he's just another person that's like, yeah, I really like this Kellen Mond. And so I'm kind of like, I just feel like if you can get your hands on this guy, even later in the draft, way later in the draft, as a fourth quarterback, throw him on your taxi squad this year. I mean, because this dude next year could pay dividends, man, because you go into next year, that's the final year of Kirk's contract. And if he has any problems, or if he struggled at all this year going into next year and he's not doing, I mean, it could turn into give Kellen Mond a chance real quick. So I think he's a good guy to have stashed. So that's what I got for my guys, since you took one. And that's all right, because that one took up some time. So we'll go on to another topic. We'll actually go ahead and make this the last one. I can't remember if it's 6 or if it's around 6 or 7. Oh no, this would be round 5. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We'll do that. Spin again. Son of a bitch. Motherfucker. Hold up. Let's cat up real quick. Come. You son of a. What the fuck?
If it comes up again, I got one that will do
Oh.
it. Oh no.
That's all right. Aaron, change your Twitter profile pic to Tom Brady for a day.
The thing is, I had no problems with Tom Brady. I would gladly put him up there as like my Scott Fishbowl. Let's see.
Oh, come on. Okay, it actually did land on that one. Okay, so we yet again will be saving Guillotine League chatter for another time. That's all right. That's all right. I'm okay with that. Just keep prolonging it. That's what we get, because we're going to have to draft for that before too long. All right. Favorite fictional sports characters, Aaron. This is a good, fun way to end the show. Let's wrap it up. What do you got for me? One or two quick people or characters, I should say, from shows, movies, whatever.
These are two characters from my childhood. That's really why I picked it. Because truth is, I don't watch a lot of movies. I really don't. I find that I don't have the attention span. But Forrest Gump and Gordon Bombay, right? The Mighty Ducks. I used to love those movies. So
I love the Mighty Ducks as well.
Right. And truth is, I don't have much on to say about either one of these characters. It's just more of, that's my childhood. I watched a lot of Mighty Ducks. Forrest Gump, it's classic. It's just, sometimes you really stop to think and you're like, you think back on childhood things. And those were movies in the early to mid 90s. So it's what I grew up on. That's why I chose them.
Those are some really good ones. And not only did I love the Mighty Ducks as a kid, but we showed that shit to my son Draven, the one who has the birthday coming up, probably back when he was like 3. And we're a big hockey family. We used to go to the Iowa Wild games because they're kind of the farm team for the Minnesota Wild of the NHL. And so we're just a big hockey family. Kids love the hockey. And we showed him the Mighty Ducks when he was younger, and he would just sit. We'd put him to bed at night, and he would lay in bed and, we are the champions, my friends. Like, just as loud at fucking the top of his lungs, just screaming, we are the champions. And yeah. So he loves him some Queen. He loves him some hockey. He loves him some Mighty Ducks. So yeah, all on board with that. But so for me, I have to go. Man, it's hard to beat you because Gordon Bombay, I don't know if I thought enough about this one, but I'm going to go ahead and say this one for sure. This one for sure, Rick Vaughn, because I absolutely loved Major League when I was a kid. Because as much as I wanted to be a basketball point guard or a football player, I was really best at baseball. That was my gig. And so I really enjoyed, I didn't enjoy the dramatic stuff. Like Field of Dreams was cool, but like I wasn't into the dramatic stuff. Give me some fun stuff like A League of Their Own. Tom Hanks coach character in that movie, fantastic. But so Rick Vaughn, and I'm always, again, you look at me, like to be different and whatnot. So I've been like that pretty much my whole life. So I'm saying Rick Vaughn walking in there with a fucking mohawk. I'm like, yes, I fucking love this guy. So, and it's Charlie Sheen's crazy ass. I mean, so I do love some major league, some Rick Vaughn. It is Rick Vaughn, right?
Believe so.
Okay.
I'm horrible at actor names.
I was about to say, well, that's the character name. Charlie Sheen. Yeah, I think, okay.
I'm bad at character and actor. Right. It's just...
And then I I originally wrote down Waterboy because I just, but really, it's not even him, the character. I just enjoy that movie. So I'm gonna cross that out because at the last minute before you started speaking yours, I had one just pop in my head out of nowhere. Right after I'm talking or announcing the topic, the old show Coach pops in my head. Do you remember that? Wasn't it called Coach? Yeah, Coach. Um, yeah, sometimes I forget you're younger than me, dude. There's a show called Coach. Uh, Craig T. Nelson. I don't know if you're not good with names,
I'm
so you wouldn't know
horrible
who
at.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
I can tell you all kinds of football players. I can't tell you like movies, actors at all. I'm bad.
Okay. Well, the coach has an assistant in this show, and he's a big, tall, goofy dude with blonde hair. His name is Dauber. He's the same dude who does the voice for Patrick on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay.
So it's that dude. So if you could just picture that voice and a big lug of a guy, this is the guy who played Dauber. Not very smart at all. He was a former player, got hit in the head too many times. So, and this was coach's assistant. So I nominate him as my second favorite fictional sports character is Dauber from the show Coach. That's it. There we go. That's what I got.
Awesome.
All right, buddy, you good? You ready to get this show, close this show up?
One thing I'll add, I'm not even
Yeah.
going to go into my notes on it, but I'll add that earlier in the episode I talked about, oh, we'll get to Miles Sanders, we'll get to Miles Sanders. I'm going to make listeners actually wait a little bit more because I'm actually working on an article that talks about Miles Sanders. And all I'm going to say is, don't
That's
be fading
good.
this guy. You're going to want Miles Sanders. Lot of things pointing to Miles Sanders being good, really good this year, fantasy football.
And I agree. And I can't wait to check out your article because it will just confirm my suspicions, I imagine, because I do completely agree. People trying to send me some bullshit offers for Miles Sanders in leagues. Like, I don't think he's going to be something. Like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah. And it'll basically come down to, yes, he burned everyone because he was a first round pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the value you're getting as a guy like third round that's also starting to slip into the fourth round. Yeah. So I've got some good stuff. I'm in the process of putting it all together there. Like right now, I've got all the information. It's just all over the place. So once I get that in readable form, and it's going to be on Breakout Finder. It's actually not going to be on Player Profiler. It's going to be the sister company Breakout Finder. But yes, that I'm hoping to wrap up. If I'm crazy, I could stay up late tonight and write it, but probably going to get sleep, finish writing it tomorrow, and then maybe that'll be up next week. We'll be
there you go.
I got to get some articles out. I'm trying to help out Breakout Finder as well. I know they're struggling to get some content going, or they reached out, so I'm trying to do my thing. But people listening to the show, be on the lookout for that Breakout Finder for that one.
Indeed.
I don't know if you got any other written material. I've got one for Player Profiler coming out not this upcoming Monday, but next Monday, so the 28th, I've got another Meet the Metric. I did Meet the Metric on true catch rate, which I had a blast doing that one. I have one for total QPR, just a little sneak peek here. I'm able to use that stat to go back in time a little bit to take people through the whole Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love fiasco and like why the Packers would even think about doing that. That's going to be my little teaser for that article. I think that one's going to be a great one. Waiting on Cody and Ray to work their magic touch to put the final pieces there, but I'm pretty proud of that one. That was a lot of fun to write too.
That's awesome, dude. I can't wait to read I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little envious. When I was thinking about doing one of the metric pieces, the that was the metric I was looking at most. So bravo on you. I don't have anything written coming out. I've got a couple ideas up, but I have not got around to writing anything yet. I'm still trying to get used to this routine. And then once I get through the work week part, I've got 3 days off, but like this week I had a bunch of running around to do Sunday, and then I wanted to make sure I had the show sheet to use so we were ready to go for the pod tonight. And then I had to get my other podcast recorded, and so I just was busy as hell. But at some point in the next couple of weeks I'm going to get back to writing, so I will keep everyone updated on that. That being said, shameless plug, I do have my other podcast coming out, and that it was kind of a fun one. It was a little bit of kind of a short one, but I had fun. Talked about mushrooms and marriage and and Putin's interview and a little bit of the playoffs and just a smorgasbord of stuff, as I usually do. But it was fun. And speaking of the mushrooms, I brought that up because the wife and I ate a few on my days off. Well, I guess it still is my days off. Don't have to go back to work till Wednesday, but yeah, we actually have, I don't know if you've ever heard of microdosing with these things, but there's a lot of science behind this stuff and being better than like actual, because see, I got a big thing with pharmaceutical companies and all of this stuff, and I just personally don't like taking pills. I saw what the shit did to my dad, so I'm not big on it. But you know, I've done a lot of research into the whole psilocybin things and stuff like that in the microdosing aspect, and I kind of tried it, and it is very interesting. So we got a little bit to help us do that. We were going to do some microdosing, but we ate a few extra, and no major trip. I wasn't bouncing off walls, seeing all sorts of crazy shit. None of that. Just kind of felt a little extra stoned, but it was kind of fun. So, but other than that, that was kind of a fun aspect of the weekend, was a little bit of that. But otherwise, I was pretty fucking busy, man, for the most part. And I've been meaning to ask you also, have you checked out the Mortal Kombat yet?
I haven't because it wasn't in the
brother
for too long here. But I'm sure I'll find a way to view it. I have to see, because nowadays,
HBO. You don't watch
perfect.
Well,
I've got like Hulu, and I got to check to see my Hulu account. I have to see if it's the one that's got the HBO. So
yeah, if you've got any connection to HBO, I know it's been on there, and yeah, so it's definitely worth watching. But I keep meaning to bring that up because I brought it up with my brother on the last podcast when he was on with me on my other podcast. I'm like, why aren't these people watching this movie? It's so awesome.
Well, and admittedly, the times I'm at the movies these days, I'm taking my nieces with me. Kind of frowned upon. I'm taking a 10 and an 11 and a 12-year-old. I guess I know enough about Mortal Kombat to know. Yeah, that's probably. Yeah.
Well, see, I didn't. I'm going to be honest. The old Mortal Kombat, it's pretty tame, and so by the previews it looked like it was going to be a lot more badass, and I could tell in the first 5 minutes I was like, oh yep, the boys can't watch this one yet. The old one was fine, they watched that one, but I'm like, they can't watch this one yet. No sir. But yeah, so I've been meaning to ask, but anyway, that's all I got. Let's end this shit. Sorry, I got to rambling about mushrooms and Mortal Kombat, and I'm probably a bit delirious because it's been a long. I've been busy on my days off. I don't like being that busy on my days off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we both need some sleep. So
fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's get the hell out of here, everybody. Thank you for joining. We very much appreciate you at RMK Madness at 8 on the Twitters. Don't forget to check us out. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and mad. Till next time, everyone, have a great week. Aaron, say goodbye to the good peoples.
Okay. catch you later, guys. Can't wait until next Monday.
And
Next time, everyone. Ta-ta for now. Latest.